solid state and tube timber, as well as
It's noticeable to me that when I use a 4K mouse, it just feels more responsive.
you can go as fast as you can without trying to go on. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're looking at the Fantech Helios 2 Pro XD3V3. I don't know who came up with this name, but it's a bit too long.
English, mother, do you speak it?
This is the first time I've tried a Fantech mouse, and so shout out to Fantech Josh for sending not just one, but two Helios 2 Pro XD3V3s and 4K dongle out to me. Now I'm not quite sure what the XD3V3 means, but if you guys find out, leave a comment below and let me know.
If you asked me what XD3V3 means in the Helios 2 Pro, it would go something like this.
Rar uwu XD ovo mia ovo nya uwu neko owu chan tihi uwu uwo ehek.
So for the quick summary of this mouse, it's an excellent all-rounder mouse that honestly sits in my S+ tier list now. While there are points of improvement that could be made, everything works well, and this mouse honestly has no deal breakers for me. Straight into the details, features, and unboxing. The Fantech Helios 2 Pro XD3V3, which we will now just shorten to the Helios.
I would advise against that, Yifong. Don't you remember the last time you said Helios?
So the Helios is tuned.
His voice crack killed me.
Helios, which we will now just shorten to the Helios, comes in this Fantech box. The 4K dongle comes separately in here, so if you just open this up, you can see the 4K dongle. Opening up the mouse box, you are greeted with the mouse, and then further inside the box are the accessories. Inside the accessories case, you will see the USB-C cable. Well, there's a lot of stuff in here, but USB-C cable, some grips that I've already put on the mouse, a set of extra skates, warranty cards, manuals, a lot of stickers as well, and this very cool engraved Fantech token. I'm actually a big fan of this. This is cool. They really did go a little bit extra in terms of giving you these accessories, but I'm definitely a fan. The mouse itself retails for $75 US, or $85 if you get it with the 4K dongle, as a bundle listed on Fantech's website. Now, I'm sure there are other places you can find this mouse, like AliExpress or your local retailers, so make sure you guys check those. The build quality on the Helios is honestly top tier. There is little to no flex on the build of the mouse, and it feels really solid in hand. Coding, however, is one of the points of improvement on the Helios, and unfortunately only gets a passing grade here. Now, the mouse does have a layer of coding, but it feels a little bit slippery for me. I do wish they could replicate coatings from brands such as Pulsar or Zowie, Ingame, and the lot. It can instantly bring up the quality aspect of the mouse up a notch. Thankfully, they do include stock grips, which, as you guys can see, I've already put on. The stock grips are surprisingly good. I can't comment on the long-term durability of these grips just yet, but they do feel pretty nice, and I'm pretty happy with them. The coating still does matter because the rear of this mouse doesn't have grips, and that's where palm is making contact, and when that part feels slippery, you feel a little bit unstable. So the mouse features a 3395 sensor, which needs no mentioning. The sensor placement, however, is something I personally have an issue with, but most probably won't. Now, due to the shape and size of the mouse, relative to my, 21x12 hands, the location which I have to grip the mouse is pretty far forward, and that does mean that the sensor placement feels a little bit off. The horizontal movements feel off axes, burst via micro pull downs also don't seem to be controlled in the way I'd like them to, but given the mouse is designed for regular sized hands, I think this wouldn't really be an issue for most users. Now, if you were to compare, say, the sensor placement to the Vaxi MP01 wireless here, they're honestly placed around the same location. But the MP01 then works for me because the mouse itself is bigger, the hump is a lot bigger, the mouse is just bigger in general, and therefore I'm not gripping it as far forward. And so the sensor placement is actually around where my thumb is, and so this works, and therefore this doesn't work as well. Clicks are a point of praise for the Helios Pro 2. The left-right buttons themselves have a very slight comfort groove, which actually feels really nice. The switches inside are TTC Gold opticals, and I think this is the first mouse I've actually tried or even heard about these switches on. Now, the clicks do feel very light and crispy and responsive. Definitely one of the best optical feelings I've tried to date, probably second to the Pulsar X-Lite V3 that I previously reviewed. The X-Lite V3 was even lighter and even more responsive, but it didn't feel as crisp as the Helios's clicks were. So the Helios in turn have a more mechanical feel than the X-Lite V3, despite both being opticals. So pure performance-wise, definitely still goes to the X-Lite V3, but I honestly think the Helios feels maybe just a little bit better in terms of that crispiness. The side buttons also feel slightly mushier, but I have no problems with it. Scroll wheel has a nice scroll tactility and a nice click, so this is all good. The mouse weighs in at 55 grams, a weight that I think is perfect for a mouse of this size. So weight distribution seems to be slightly back heavy. If you were to ask me, that is actually ideal. This means that it's even easier to micro adjust using your fingertips, and the front of the mouse, which feels effortless. The overall lightweight still means that big, larger swipes are easy, yet the slightly heavier rear also seems to slightly assist with stopping and stabilizing on these bigger swipes. Shape is obviously the most important towards those stability issues, but nonetheless, this weight balance can also help a little bit. Now in terms of skates, the design is excellent on the Helios Pro 2. I think the sizing is perfect, and this is exactly what I like. Now, if you want different sizes, Fantech also included dot skates on the extra sets, and this could be what you'd like instead. Now, as for the skates themselves, they perform just fine, and I haven't had a reason to change them yet, so this is also pretty good. Lastly, we come to shape and comparisons. Now, the Helios is supposedly a clone of the Zowie S2. Unfortunately, I don't have an S2 on me to give you that comparison. I previously owned the S2C maybe 3 years ago when I was still in New Zealand, and I gifted that to a bro in Japan that I met on Tokyo Valorant servers. Shout out to Suisan. Instead, you guys will just have to hear me talk about it. Now, I think the Helios shape is designed for claw grip of medium-sized hands, but you could also fingertip it. Now, as much as Fantech themselves have said you can palm grip this mouse, I don't particularly recommend it. The rear of the mouse flares a bit wider towards the back to accommodate for the extension of your palm width when you curl your fingers for claw grip, because obviously the closer you keep your fingers, the less width there is on your palm, whereas if you open your fingers wider, curl them up, whether you do an aggressive claw or a relaxed claw, your palm is going to extend a little bit wider, and therefore this wider rear accommodates for that. The waist of the mouse does have a comfort groove, so it does slim down a little for aggressive claw to rest your fingers, making sure that you're gripping where they're intended to. However, it's not as aggressive as it is on, say, the Atlantis or the XM2WE. The overall front half of the mouse is still flat enough to comfortably have a relaxed claw, because it doesn't feel like it's forcing you to grip this waist. If you want to aggressive claw and you want to grip this waist, it's there. But when you don't want to and you grip a bit more forward, it still feels flat enough and it doesn't feel like your fingers are being put off balance. The button height is also really comfortable and feels natural for clicking. I don't think it's too low, I don't think it's too tall. The only issue I personally have with this shape is that the hump just isn't tall enough for my hands, but that's just a me problem, and I feel like the overall size should fit just right for most people. It's just really good. A solid shape that performs excellently for claw grip, both aggressive and relaxed. Now, I am more than happy to put this as one of my top recommendations for mice. I think an interesting point of the Helios here is that it sits somewhere in between a Superlight and a Pulsar X2. So for those of you that like the Superlight but had issues with it being too big and round, the button height is a bit tall, the front part is a bit weird, or you like the X2 but you didn't enjoy that it was a bit wide on the grip width and the button height was low, the Helios 2 here, to an extent, is kind of a midway point between the two. It has similar width to the GPX, or maybe a little bit less, or the Pulsar X2 for that matter as well. The button height is in between the two of them, so yeah, it's kind of sitting like in between the two mice, and if you guys liked either of those but had little gripes with it, this might be what you're looking for instead. So who should buy the Fantech Helios 2 Pro XD3V3? Well, if you have medium-sized hands and you claw grip and you want to try something different, or you enjoy mid-humps over all of the rare hump mice these days, like the Pulsar X2 family, the LA1, the OP1, whatever, this is easily one of the best available. If you like the Zowie S2, then this is probably one of the closest options you have for a wireless lightweight version for now. They're not exactly the same, but similar enough. Now, especially considering the price you could find this mouse for, I really do recommend everyone give it a go. So once again, thanks to Fantech for sending me this excellent mouse. I am really impressed by this release, and I look forward to what else Fantech can cook up going forward in the future, because this is definitely in the right direction. Until then, see you guys in the next video.